Welcome, gentlemen. Tawdry here. Today we'll discuss George Orwell's 1984. It was published in 1949, and perhaps it wasn't just a dystopian novel. It's beginning to look more and more like a chilling prophecy. Orwell imagined a world ruled by totalitarianism where Big Brother watched your every move. He warned us about surveillance, propaganda, and the suppression of truth. Now, fast forward to 2024, and it's like Orwell had a crystal ball. We live in a world of smartphones, facial recognition, and data harvesting. Our online activity is tracked, analyzed, and used to manipulate us. Governments and corporations are constantly watching, often without our consent. It's enough to make you want to put some tape over your webcam, just in case. Orwell's message is more relevant than ever. He reminds us that power unchecked leads to tyranny. He shows us the dangers of apathy and the importance of defending our freedoms. We ignore his warnings at our peril, so buckle up, because we're about to take a dive into the world of 1984 and see just how much of it is reflected in our own current reality. Spoiler alert, it's more than any of us would like to admit. Remember Orwell's Big Brother, that creepy, ever-watchful entity from 1984? The idea of an omnipresent surveillance system seemed like a far-fetched dystopian nightmare back then, but fast forward to today and it feels eerily familiar. Yeah, Big Brother's basically our internet service provider now. Every click, every search, every online purchase is meticulously tracked and logged. Our digital footprints are everywhere and they're being watched. But instead of clunky telescreens, we have CCTV cameras, facial recognition software, and our trusty smartphones constantly tracking our every move. These devices, once seen as tools of convenience, have become the eyes and ears of modern surveillance. Governments are using sophisticated surveillance technologies in the name of security. High-resolution cameras, satellite imagery, and advanced algorithms are all part of their arsenal. They argue it helps prevent terrorism and crime. And while there's some truth to that, the extent of surveillance often goes far beyond what is necessary for public safety. But often it feels like we're trading our privacy for a false sense of safety. The constant monitoring can be invasive, making us feel like we're always being watched, even in the comfort of our own homes. And let's be honest, have you ever read a government privacy policy? These documents are intentionally complex, filled with legal jargon that makes it nearly impossible for the average person to understand. They're longer than the terms and conditions that nobody reads for all the online crap we sign up for, and twice as dull. It's no wonder most people just click agree without a second thought. Meanwhile, corporations are collecting our data, analyzing our online habits, and selling that information to the highest bidder. Every website we visit, every product we look at, is recorded and analyzed. Targeted advertising is just the tip of the iceberg. These data points are used to create detailed profiles of us, predicting our behavior and preferences with startling accuracy. This data can be used to influence our choices, from what we buy to who we vote for. Political campaigns in particular have become adept at using this information to sway public opinion, often providing alternative facts, but rarely ever any data-driven truth. It's become increasingly difficult to tackle the digitally polluted information sphere and the apparent end of fact-checked journalistic integrity. So now, Orwell's vision of a surveillance state is no longer just science fiction, it's our reality. The pervasive presence of cameras and monitoring devices in our daily lives is a constant reminder of how much we've given up in the name of progress. The question is, how much are we willing to tolerate before we say, enough is enough? When do we reach the point where the trade-off between security and privacy becomes too great? Because if we're not careful, our world might start looking even more like the dystopian society Orwell warned us about. The balance between safety and freedom is delicate, and tipping too far in one direction can have dire consequences, and nobody wants that. Except maybe for those odd-lot tech nerd CEOs who are probably building underground bunkers as we speak. These individuals who profit from our data seem to be preparing for a future where privacy is a luxury only that they can afford. As we continue to integrate technology into every aspect of our lives, it's crucial to remain vigilant. We must at least attempt to advocate for stronger privacy protections and demand transparency from both governments and corporations. Our voices may or may not matter, it's hard to say. However, by raising awareness and pushing for change, perhaps we can help shape a future where technology serves us rather than controls us. surveillance. The fight for privacy is far from simple or easy, but it's a battle worth fighting. In the end, it's about finding a balance, embracing the benefits of technology while safeguarding our fundamental rights. Orwell also understood the psychological impact of surveillance, which compels individuals to self-censor in fear of repercussions. Research supports this idea, showing that surveillance can foster conformity and suppress dissent. See Foucault, 1977. Orwell's haunting observation that power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing reveals the powerful, insidious effects of surveillance, which exerts control over individuals by instilling fear of punishment for dissenting views. For instance, there was initially a pronounced trend towards men in the so-called manosphere to remain anonymous for fear of retribution based on their opinions about feminism and female nature. They knew that by simply expressing their opinion, it could mean being ostracized by factions that have a heavy influence on their daily lives, in particular their livelihood. Early progenitors of the MGTOW movement, like Stardust, aka Thinking Ape, even suffered from having their identity forcibly exposed despite preferring to remain anonymous. And while many manosphere content creators in recent years have decided that they will openly share their identity, I'd argue that nearly none of them are engaged in the kind of critical thinking or challenge to the status quo groupthink that a content creator like Stardust represented early on. In my opinion, these new creators don't mind being visible because their message is very watered down. It almost feels purposely, in my subjective opinion, as if they are members of a form of safe and controlled opposition. Then there's the panopticon effect, a psychological phenomenon where people alter their behavior under the assumption that they are being watched, is real and powerful. See Haggerty and Erickson, 2000. In Orwell's world, Big Brother ensures that every action can be monitored and controlled, creating a pervasive sense of paranoia. In modern society, people's perceptions of freedom are similarly influenced by the knowledge that their actions could be surveilled at any time. For example, curbing your personal porn preferences because, well, you know that thing you like with the girl and the horse may be pretty weird to whomever may be monitoring such things. In the world of 1984, the Ministry of Truth was responsible for spreading propaganda and distorting reality. This fictional institution controlled the flow of information, rewriting history and manipulating facts to suit the needs of the ruling party. It was a powerful tool for maintaining control over the populace. Their motto, "Ignorance is strength." This paradoxical slogan encapsulated the idea that a lack of knowledge and critical thinking among the masses made them easier to govern. By keeping people ignorant, the Ministry of Truth ensured that dissent was minimized and loyalty to the party was maintained. Sounds familiar? Remember how the election system was deemed as rigged right up until the party making those claims was pronounced the winner. Quite confusingly, suddenly the election system was deemed to be working just fine. Welcome to the age of shameless misinformation, where truth is a slippery concept and everyone has an agenda. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information from a multitude of sources, each vying for our attention and trust. The digital age has made it easier than ever to spread falsehoods and manipulate public perception. We are bombarded with news from countless sources, each with its own biases and agendas. Traditional media outlets, social media platforms, and independent bloggers all contribute to the cacophony of voices, each presenting their version of the truth. This overwhelming influx of information can make it difficult to discern fact from fiction. Social media algorithms feed us personalized echo chambers, reinforcing our existing beliefs and limiting our exposure to alternative viewpoints. These algorithms are designed to keep us engaged by showing us content that aligns with our interests and opinions, creating a feedback loop that can distort our perception of reality. It's like living in a world of curated news feeds where everyone is shouting their own version of the truth. In this environment, it becomes increasingly challenging to find objective and unbiased information. The lines between fact and fiction are becoming increasingly blurred, making it harder to trust what we see and hear. With the rise of sophisticated technology, such as deep fakes and AI-generated content, it is becoming more difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is fabricated. This erosion of trust in the media can have serious consequences for our society. Deepfakes can make anyone say anything, and it's getting harder to tell what's real and what's not. These manipulated videos can be used to spread false information, damage reputations, and influence public opinion. As the technology continues to improve, the potential for misuse grows, posing a significant threat to the integrity of our information ecosystem. This constant barrage of misinformation creates confusion, distrust, and apathy. When we are unable to trust any of the information we receive, it becomes easier to disengage and become apathetic. This can lead to a lack of civic engagement and a weakening of democratic institutions. It's easier to switch off than to try and make sense of it all. The sheer volume of conflicting information can be overwhelming, leading many to simply tune out and disengage from the news altogether. This disengagement can have serious implications for our ability to make informed decisions as citizens. Orwell's depiction of a society manipulated by propaganda is a stark warning. His novel serves as a reminder of the dangers of allowing those in power to control the flow of information. In a world where truth is malleable and facts are constantly rewritten, it becomes difficult to hold those in power accountable. We must be critical consumers of information, question everything, and seek out diverse perspectives. In order to navigate the complex landscape of modern media, it is essential to approach information with a critical eye. This means questioning the sources of our information, seeking out multiple viewpoints, and being aware of our own biases. Because in the age of misinformation, truth is the most valuable currency. In a world where information is abundant but reliable information is scarce, the ability to discern truth from falsehood is a crucial skill. By valuing and seeking out accurate information, we can better navigate the complexities of the modern world. And sadly, it's in short supply. The proliferation of misinformation has made it increasingly difficult to find trustworthy sources. This scarcity of reliable information can have serious consequences for our ability to make informed decisions. So next time you see a shocking headline or a viral video, take a moment to consider the source. Before accepting information at face value, it is important to critically evaluate its credibility. This means looking at the source of the information, considering its potential biases, and cross-referencing with other reliable sources. Ask yourself, who benefits from spreading this information? Understanding the motivations behind the dissemination of information can help us better evaluate its credibility. By considering who stands to gain from the spread of certain narratives, we can more effectively navigate the complex landscape of modern media. And remember, just because it's trending doesn't make it true. In the age of social media, it is easy to mistake popularity for credibility. However, the fact that a piece of information is widely shared does not necessarily mean it is accurate. By approaching trending topics with a critical eye, we can better protect ourselves from the spread of misinformation. In George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984, the party sought to control thought by simplifying language. This wasn't just a plot device, it was a chilling commentary on the power of language. Their creation? Newspeak, a language meticulously designed to eliminate nuance, critical thinking, and dissent. By reducing the complexity of language, they aimed to make rebellious thoughts impossible. Sound far-fetched? Think again. While we haven't quite reached the extreme levels of linguistic control depicted in Newspeak, the manipulation of language is pervasive in our society. It's subtle yet profoundly impactful. Politicians, for instance, are masters of euphemism. They use soft, vague language to mask harsh realities. Collateral damage instead of civilian casualties, enhanced interrogation instead of torture. These euphemisms are designed to desensitize us to the truth. Corporations too employ jargon to obfuscate and mislead. Terms like right-sizing instead of layoffs, synergy instead of collaboration, and stakeholder engagement instead of public relations. This corporate doublespeak creates a barrier to understanding, making it difficult for employees and consumers to grasp the true nature of their actions. And don't even get me started on the ever-evolving lexicon of social media. Here, complex issues are often reduced to hashtags, memes, and emojis. While these symbols can be powerful in their own right, they very often oversimplify what should be very nuanced discussions. This simplification of language has real-world consequences. When language is stripped of its complexity, our ability to think critically and express ourselves fully is compromised. It limits our capacity for meaningful debate and nuanced understanding. Imagine trying to discuss the intricacies of climate change or social justice using only a handful of simplified terms. The depth of the conversation would be lost. When we lack the words to articulate complex ideas, we become easier to manipulate. It's not just about losing vocabulary, it's about losing the ability to think deeply and critically. It's like trying to have a philosophical discussion using only emojis. While emojis can convey emotion, they fall short in expressing complex thoughts and ideas. It's just not going to end well. The richness of human thought and communication cannot be captured in these simplistic terms. Orwell understood the power of language to shape our thoughts and control our actions. His warning in 1984 is more relevant than ever. By recognizing the ways in which language is manipulated, we can resist attempts to limit our thinking. Awareness is the first step towards reclaiming our linguistic freedom. So, the next time someone tries to sell you something with a catchy slogan or dismiss your concerns with a meaningless platitude, remember Orwell's warning. Language can be a cage, and we hold the key. Don't let them take away your words. Words are powerful tools for change, for resistance, and for expressing our deepest truths. Use them wisely, use them loudly, and use them to challenge those who would seek to control you. In a world where language is constantly being manipulated, our words are our most potent weapon. Stand firm, speak clearly, and never underestimate the power of your voice. And that, gentlemen, is all we will illuminate in today's presentation. I wish you health, abundance, and self-actualization. You can find more thorough and in-depth written examination of these subjects on our website, tawdrybeast.com. And if you find this information useful, please consider a donation to our platform as we strive to avoid advertisers and financial investors that may affect our ability to deliver objectivity.